Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 505. My name's Nick. Joining me here today, yet again, is Bryer from Bryer's Music Showcase. We are on our 16th episode slash 16th studio album of Black Sabbath. Yeah, 16 albums in. Yeah, this is just. Oh, man. I freaking love Black Sabbath, and it's a really good
Hmm.
album. You have anything you want to say before we begin?
All right. So as usual, we gotta give our background info. All right. So right off the bat, obviously something very different here. Something's different about this. Of course, on the last one we had Tony Martin, but now we have Ronnie James Dio back once again. So how did that happen? Well, it can all go trace back to when it was again. We're at 1990, roughly 1991, 1992. And Ronnie, he's been out of the band for a good while now, but he's been having great success on his own. He has his own solo band, which is doing very well. And on one night, one person was visiting he came to the show, and of course that person turned out to be Geezer Butler. And Ronnie invited Geezer on stage, and so yeah, they kind of, because of that, they started talking a bit. They started reflecting on when they were in Black Sabbath together, and of course, they eventually got in contact with Tony Iommi, and so they were all kind of like being all buddy buddy once again. And so yeah, they kind of just started talking like, hey, maybe we should maybe get back together or something. And lo and behold, they decided, yeah, let's do it. And so they started got started. Of course, another thing about this album is that, of course, on the past two albums we had Cozy Powell on drums. Well, Ronnie and Cozy actually were in a band together. They were both in Rainbow at some point, but they didn't really get along that well, and so they were kind of nervous that was gonna cause some tension. But I guess just faith came in because Cozy got into a I guess I forgot what exactly, but I know he got a hip injury, which made him so that he couldn't play drums for a while, and so Cozy had to kind of step back. So Cozy was gone, but they decided to bring back another drummer that they had before, and that was Vinny Appice, who of course played with Black Sabbath on the Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules album. So there you go. We got the old Ronnie lineup once again. Um, but what about Tony Martin? What about him? Was he fired? Yes and no. So because what's funny was that Tony was still technically part of the band. There was actually, from what I gathered, he actually did record like demos of the songs that would eventually make this album. And then yeah, it's kind of a weird limbo Tony Martin was, because Tony Martin was kind of like, I think I read an interview where it was like, we were like, okay, we were just collaborating, we were singing, we were getting some songs ready, and then one day the phone stopped ringing, and Tony didn't hear from them. See,
Jeez.
there's a thing about Black Sabbath that always kind of made it. That's kind of the reason why there was always a constant rotation of musicians, especially from Tony Iommi. Communication was pretty much non-existent. Like, they would not tell you anything. They would totally ghost you all the time, and so yeah, there's that. But at least Tony Martin, he kept busy because he was actually about to record his first solo album, and so he was kind of doing that on the side. So he had that going. But other than that, yeah, they continued on with Ronnie, and they got the album done. And of course, this album did fairly well. This was kind of a little bit there was a little resurgence for Black Sabbath because of this, because of course the Mob Rules and Heaven and Hell album did pretty well on their own, and so this got to 28 in the UK and 44 in the US. So at least they're back on the charts here in the US. But yeah, and yeah, for most Black Sabbath fans, from what I gathered, this is usually seen pretty positively. People really enjoy it. It's definitely a good highlight in the '90s for them. But yeah, at least in terms of my quick thoughts, this isn't. I would say this is a very good album, very enjoyable. Definitely a bit of a step up from the last one from Tier. Of course, it's not as good as Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, but for what we have here, I think it's a pretty good album to come back with Ronnie. And of course, this lineup would not last long, but I'll talk more about that when we talk about the next album. But overall, I'm gonna have a lot of positive things to say here.
I mean, how often do they really keep a lineup the same?
Yeah. Nope.
So it's like the Birds when we were doing them. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
geez.
Right.
My brief thoughts on this album. I think it's good. Um, probably for me that is a pretty big step down from Mob Rules,
Mm.
but I can't exactly blame the band because you know it's a huge break between those two albums, so I can't.
Yeah.
It's not their fault at all. They just got back together to do this, especially Dio.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's good. I think it's a really good album, but not one of my favorite albums from them. I probably won't
Mm-hmm.
go back to it as much. But uh, let's let's get into the let's get right into it. The first song on the album, "Computer God."
All right. So you're probably right off the bat, you probably already can guess this album definitely has a much more of a sci-fi theme to it, and that was because, and that's because when Ronnie was in the band originally, he was into fantasy. But by the '90s, I think Ronnie himself kind of thought like, yeah, maybe the fantasy is kind of outdated now. So he decided to go more sci-fi, and of course, Computer God's supposed to be about how technology is becoming more powerful, and it's going to take over the world, like kind of like Terminator or Skynet sort of thing. That sort of
Okay.
idea. But yeah, right off the bat, kind of you hear the mechanical noises, and trying to simplify, trying to showcase um the mechanical aspect of it. But then right off the bat, you have Vinny coming in with a really great big drum sound and the guitar riff, and that's something I'll say about this album. It's definitely probably one of their heaviest albums. Like the guitar definitely has a much more grittier sound to it, and the drums are a lot louder, which I dig. And of course, you have Geezer Butler on bass, and there's actually moments where he actually has some really good bass fills, and it's definitely great to hear that presence again. Because I've said this in the past, definitely in the last episode, where I felt the bass was kind of not really as pronounced, but now that Geezer's here, like it's really up front again, which is great, which I appreciate. And yeah, Ronnie himself sounds great. Sounds like he never left. Really, I mean, he has more grittier sound because he's a bit older, but he still sounds great. Um, and yeah, the chorus is pretty strong. They do play around with dynamics with more with the heaviness, but also has a much slower bridge. But yeah, I think it's a very good song. And one more thing before I move on, but that I do like how they do speed up towards the end. I think it kind of closes the song very strongly. So overall, I think it's a very strong opening track. This one did make the top 5, barely though. But overall, very solid opening song.
I think it's a good opener. Um, it didn't make. I'm gonna be honest. The first half of the album, I'm not the biggest fan of. It's probably my favorite of the first 5 songs. It's good. It's not bad. It's just not one of my favorites from the Dio period. Um, get to the next song. After all,
All right.
uh,
After all,
the dead.
the
Parentheses.
dead. Okay, so this song is somewhat of not quite religious or anything, but this kind of song about singing about questioning the afterlife and what happens after death. I'm pretty sure they've done something similar to this before, but it definitely has a very sinister opening by Ronnie in terms of the vocals. Kind of has a very menacing sound to it, and the song itself has this very doomy sort of sound. Again, kind of harkening back to the debut with that doom sort of sound that they did before. Um, I will say this is probably my least favorite song on side one. because it does take a while for it to really get going. It has a nice groove, but other than that, it takes a while before the drums kick in. And the chorus again is pretty good. Up again, and there's a nice guitar melody in it in the chorus as well. And there's some nice keyboards here as well. I forgot to mention Jeff Nichols is still in the band. He's still here. He's still providing keyboards here, so he hasn't really left. But yeah, and I do think the song sounds it's about it's like 5 minutes or 5.5 minutes or something, and it does feel like it does go on a bit too long. I feel like they could have trimmed it, or they could have gone to the point quicker. But yeah, it's my least favorite song on side one, but it's not bad.
I'm kind of with you. It's an okay song. It does feel longer in comparison to some of the other longer songs. It's all right. Yeah, just not one of my favorites. Next song we get is TV Crimes.
Okay, so this was the first single for the album. I don't know how it charted though. I couldn't find that. But so you're probably wondering what TV Crimes mean. It's kind of probably the most, I don't know, kind of the most unique title for a Black Sabbath song. But this was kind of supposed to be a critique on those like televised like sermons or Christian things. You know, I forgot. I know there were some pretty big ones in the '90s, and a lot of them were exposed on various scandals. Um, but yeah, there's kind of critique on that. And yeah, it's a pretty good, very fast paced, very good drumming from Vinny. I think Vinny has some good drumming on here, and the guitar solo is pretty cool. I will say my only gripe with the song, it does sound lyrically, and the chorus, it is a little corny. Because it's a bit too on the nose on what they're singing about. So with that, they kind of didn't really, yeah, it didn't really get crack the top five at all for me. But it's still a decent song. I will say it's probably the weirdest choice for a single though. Have you seen the music video for it?
I have not actually.
It's probably one of their better music videos, but it definitely has that 90s cinematography, that cheesy kind
Oh,
of feel to it.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, not again, they're still not that good at music videos, but overall it's a fine song.
it's again kind of just an okay song. I really don't have much to say. You kind of summed it up pretty well. Again, just an okay song. Um, don't worry, I have lots of great things to say about this album. Just not in the first half, sadly.
Hmm.
We get to the next song on the album, "Letters from Earth."
All right, this is one of the better songs here so far. Again, this one also didn't make the top five, but I like this one. Again, this is like one of those songs, praying to God, hopefully all the evil from the world goes away, sort of thing. Got a nice, good, heavy riff to it, which I like, and I do like Dio's vocals. I think his vocals sound pretty good, and I think the chorus is probably the highlight on this song for me. And the guitar solo is pretty good. I didn't have a whole lot to say about it, but I thought it was another pretty solid track.
Yeah, it's a it's an okay song again. I'm with you. It's not in my top five either. It's it's okay. Um, it's not bad. None of these songs are bad. It's just subpar compared to the other songs you would get on Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. It's okay. Now we get to the last song in the first half of the album, which is a Master of Insanity.
All right, here's the second single, and this one did make my top five. This one I actually really dug. I love the bass intro from Geezer. It's nice again, like I said before, but it's great that Geezer gets to shine a bit more again. It's good to hear him again on Black Sabbath. Um, and the song itself, it's supposed to be a song about how there's a madman within all of us, just hiding away. And we try to keep it hidden, but every once in a while it kind of peeks out. But this one has a much faster pace to it, which I really enjoy. And Again, Ronnie sounds really good here, and I like the chorus too. I think the chorus is pretty memorable, and there's the guitar solo is pretty nice. You have some nice guitar harmony, at some overlays, which is pretty nice. Sounds pretty good. But yeah, I really enjoyed this song. I think it might be my favorite song on this first side. I think it's my favorite song on side one.
Um, I think it's okay, Ken. I'm kind of with you though. I think let me look at my notes again. Not my notes, but my song ranking. Um, yeah, this is probably my this is this is definitely one of the better songs on side one. It's good. It's not bad. It's good. I would probably rank it C tier.
Hmm.
um, Now, I actually looked it up. This is on vinyl. Uh, this is the part where you flip the record over
Mm-hmm.
to flip it over to side two, Time Machine.
All right. So what's interesting is that this song was actually used in Wayne's World. Of course, it was a different version, kind of a little bit different from the album version, but it's still in there. Mm. But yeah, it's just a song kind of supposed to be. I mean, the time machine's supposed to be like a metaphor for changing your life, try to make it better. I think something on that line. But yeah, this is definitely a nice way to open the second side. I think this is another pretty good song. Where did I have it? Where did I put this song? Oh yeah, yeah. Just make sure. But yeah, this was another highlight for me. I think the guitar riff is very catchy. I think it's a very good chorus too. And again, Geezer once again showing off his good bass skills. And the guitar solo is pretty good. And overall, it's a very enjoyable song. Again, pretty good way to open this. Very good way to open this side here.
I agree with you. This made my top five. I really like
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, side two is amazing. I think side two is easily the best side of the album. This
Mm-hmm.
is definitely one of the better. This is a not high on my top five, but it's really good. Definitely better than those songs we began on the first side, in my opinion. Now we get to the next one on the album, "Sin of the Father."
Okay, Sin of the Father. This was another very pretty good song here. Really good melody. Very solid guitar riff once again. And you have some Jeff providing some keyboard flourishes here and there. And drumming very nice. And I do like how it switches up. It gets to a much faster pace. Um, yeah, overall, not another one I didn't have a whole lot to say, but it's another very good solid track here.
Yeah, I like this song a lot. Pardon me. This is another solid song on the album. I'm like, man, I'm digging the vibe of this song. I It's another really good song. I'm not really good at describing it, but it's just another. It's a song where you gotta listen to it for yourself. If you got like one thing that I recommend, listen to side two of this album. It's amazing. So after that really good song, we get to the next song on the album, "Too Late."
Okay, Too Late. This is probably my least favorite song on side two. It's definitely the longest song on the album. Just another song about dealing with the devil. That sort of, realizing you messed up before it's too late. That sort of thing. It has a pretty nice acoustic guitar intro. Um, it sounds pretty nice. And again, Ronnie sounds pretty good in the intro as well, just setting the tone. And then you have a nice steady. Once it starts to come in, you get this kind of pretty solid drum beat from Vinny. It does get heavier it gets heavier and heavier, which is I appreciate that. With a nice guitar solo, but again, it is a bit long. I will say that. Um, Again, like it's kind of similar critique when I said about After All the Dead. Again, I feel like it takes a bit for it to get going. Um, but overall, it's still solid. Nothing too negative to say.
I actually really like this song. Um, this made my top five. Um,
Okay.
I get where you're coming from, though. I totally get it. Um, me personally, I really enjoy the song, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. It does move slowly, but I think what it does when we do get somewhere, I think we really
Mm-hmm.
got somewhere. But that's just
Yeah.
my opinion, of course. Um, but yeah, this fantastic song made my top five.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get to the next song on the album. I.
Okay, so this is by far my favorite song on side two. Yeah, really great one. Again, this is, and it's like and I do like the concept of it. Again, it's called I because it's referring to individuality. I am this, I am that, and just kind of just a cry out to, you know, some young people who are trying to find their way. And I really do enjoy those types of songs. Like really great keyboard intro from Jeff, definitely great. And again, you have some bass as well. And the guitar riff, again, very memorable, very heavy, and a good driving rhythm to it, which I dig. And again, Ronnie just has a great, gritty vocal delivery here, which sounds amazing. And the chorus is very good too. And the guitar solo, again, very awesome sounding. But yeah, this is definitely a big highlight for me. This is a great one.
I agree with you. This is an amazing song. Um, I was really hoping you liked this song too. I'm like, this song is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I love this song. This is another. If there's a song that should have been the single on this album, it should have been this.
Oh yeah, I agree.
The songs that they chose were okay, but
Mm-hmm.
man, this is single material right here. But
Mm-hmm.
Kuna Matata. Uh, but if you know, you know.
Yeah.
This is a great song though. Yeah, is another great Black Sabbath song. This I'm not gonna tell you where it ranks on this album, but it ranks number 24 in my Black Sabbath ranking. So it's number
Cool.
24. So top 25 songs. So now we get to the last song on the album, "Buried Alive."
All right. Okay, I think this is a very good way to go out. I think this is a good song. Um, Again, just I mean, lyrically, it's supposed to be about feeling like you're stuck in a bad place, almost like a cult, almost, that sort of thing. But besides that, again, this is another really good song. Again, really good guitar riff, and again, Ronnie's vocals, another again top notch as always, and some nice drumming. Bass work is pretty pretty good as well, and there's few guitar solos on here, and I think again Tony Iommi just killing it on the guitar here. But yeah, it's a pretty good closing song. This was also a highlight for me.
Yeah, this is an amazing closing on the album. Um, really closes out on a good note. Just another amazing song. I have nothing but great things to say about side two of this album. That definitely, if side one was better, I think this would be definitely one of their better albums, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is another fantastic song on the album. Um, what is your top five going to be?
All right, so my top five, I have number five, I have Computer God. Okay, number four, Buried Alive. Number three, Master of Insanity. Number two, Time Machine. And number one, I.
Okay, we you said Time Machine was one of them, right?
Yeah, it's number two.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we shared three songs on the top five.
All right,
At
sweet.
number five, Time Machine. So
Mm-hmm.
number four, Buried Alive. Number three, Sins of the Father. Number two, Too Late. My favorite song on the album, I.
There you go.
We agree. It's nice. What are you gonna rate this album, though? Curious.
All right. So this is gonna be an interesting one here, because like I said, I do enjoy this album. Even side one, I still think it has some enjoyable songs. Um, I'm gonna give this didn't quite make a 9. I'm still gonna give it an 8.75. And the reason why I'm giving it an 8.75 is because while yes, Ronnie still sounds great, and yes, it's definitely one of their heaviest albums they've recorded. The only problem is that even though yes, it's heavy, I feel like that some of the songs just weren't as memorable as the previous two that Ronnie was on. Because if you go to Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, there's tons of hooks throughout those albums that make them stand out, that make them very memorable, and stuff you would play over and over again. While with this album, it's even though it's very heavy, the problem is the heavier that you go, the less kind of hooky it gets. It starts to sound just that heaviness and nothing else. It's either you're in it, or you're not gonna feel it. So it's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, it's still an enjoyable album. It's probably it's not going to become a top 10 album, but I still think this is a pretty good album. I think it's worth a listen at least. So 8.75.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go lower on your score. So I did say that I really liked the second half of the album.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going by the second half of the album alone, I'd give it like a 9.5 out of 10.
Okay.
However, here's the catch though. However, if I'm going by the first half of the album, it would be a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
So got to balance that out now. I didn't really do much math on it, but I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I feel like that's fair. The first half,
That sounds about right.
the opening track is a little weak compared to the last song on the album, which Buried Alive is a lot stronger of a closer than the opening track. If the closing track was weak too, it would be a 7.5 out of 10, but the closing track is so gosh darn strong, it brings it up. Yeah, the first half is amazing, but the second half is amazing, but that first half is a little weaker. Yeah, this is not a top 10 Sabbath album for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ranks kind of lower on the list, sadly. But there are enough good songs on this album where it's not their worst album.
Yeah.
I hate to spoil it, but I still have this album over Sabotage and Paranoid. So the bottom half of the album's that good. So check out the last album if you're gonna want to check it out, or check out the whole thing. But the essential parts of the album is at the end on the last 5 songs. You have anything you want to say before we close out, Bryer?
All right. Well, we gotta say goodbye to Dio again, because next time he's out of the band, and now we come back to Tony Martin. He was kind of waiting the curtains there for a little bit, but he's gonna be back for cross purposes, and yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yes. We will be reviewing the Heaven and Hell album. The album that I already forgot the name of the band, but
Heaven and Hell.
Heaven. I forgot the name of the album. That's the thing I forgot.
Yeah,
Heaven
The Devil You Know. Mm-hmm.
Yep, we're reviewing that album. It's technically Black Sabbath. All the Black Sabbath members are on it. It's just different name.
Yeah.
That's the last time we'll be seeing Dio ever with the Black Sabbath lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Till then, welcome back, Tony Martin, in next week's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long.